Hey, this is Ron with the Radiologic Technologist.com blog and YouTube channel. Let's have a drink and chat for a minute because I'm thirsty. But I got a personal call to message on Reddit last night from someone who's interested in the field of radiology, and it's pretty much common type questions, but they're worth addressing because lots of other people have, not sponsored, by the way, a lot of people have the same question. So let's just jump in. He says, first off, do you have to know a lot? Do you have to know a lot of math? Is my mic on? Yeah, okay. Do you have to know a lot of math to be a radiologic technologist? I'm not good in math at all. Both of my parents have been begging me to pursue a career in radiologic technology, and I keep having these coincidences where I run into someone and talk to them, and they're a radiologic technologist, or a relative of theirs is one, and then we end up with a discussion about becoming a rad tech. So I'm considering it. So let's just start there. You have to know math to get through the class and take your board exams, but you don't really have to know a lot of it to do the job, which I think is true with a lot of careers. So for Xray School, you have to learn how to do some physics. And if you want to see samples of that stuff, I've got it all on my blog. If you go to, I can screen share. I got to get in the habit of doing more screen sharing instead of just making you stare at my ugly mug. So let's do this. Let's go to the blog, the radiologictechnologist.com. And at the top, there's a set of links, and one of them goes to resources and study guides, right? So if you click there, it'll take you to a bunch of resources that I have created, like anatomy study guides and gear you can buy and how to get into schools and all that stuff. But what you're talking about is the classroom quizzes or the subjects that you'll run into in Xray School. So I clicked on that, and here's what I have on here. I've got most of the California fluoroscopy state exam for those of you that are going to go to California and work, because that's a separate license that only people in California have to take. The rest of the country doesn't have to worry about it. But I've got radiographic pathology in there, which is looking at anatomy and images and deciphering what's normal and what's abnormal. Positioning, which is how you place a hand for a hand x-ray and how you place an elbow for an elbow x-ray, etc. 2 sections of that. Sectional anatomy, so that you can identify the different organs and tissues and muscles and stuff. Patient care, which is proper lifting techniques, how to assist a patient, different things that you do to take care of patients. And then I've got some physics in here. And the physics is the math that you'll have to do in Xray School. So if I click on the first one and I go in there and I start it, you can see question by question what type of stuff you'll get asked. And this is not particularly a math problem, but if you scroll through these, it'll show you the type of stuff you'll see. And so do people struggle with it? Absolutely. Did I struggle with it? Absolutely. Does physics suck? Does physics suck? Yeah. To most of us, yeah. I don't know many people that get up every day and go, "Yay, I'm going to do physics today." But it is a requirement. You're not going to get out of it. So it's just like any other subject. You just have to study it and get to know it. And if you have problems with it, get outside help, get a tutor. There's so many people on YouTube now teaching these types of things that you should be able to find I can stop screen sharing. You should be able to find somebody that can help you learn this stuff. And it's only one, I believe there's only one physics section that you had to take. There might have been a physics 1 and 2, but I think there was just one physics section. So that would mean, depending on how the school's set up, it's 6 months. So when I did the program, and programs are different, but there's some basic similarities. For the most part, you have 24 months of school, so 3 8-month sections. And usually you go to classroom the first 8 months because you got to learn the basic concept before they put you out in the hospital or the clinic. But some start to put you out in the clinic at the end of that 8 months because, you know, you get 6 months worth of classroom study, you can go shoot a chest x-ray. That's a basic x-ray. But generally it's 8 months of class, 8 months of your first clinical rotation at one place, and then 8 months of a second clinical rotation at another place, hopefully. And if you're really lucky, there's multiple places in those 2 rotations. And you're not, the worst case scenario is you're stuck at one place for that entire 16 months. You want as much exposure as you can. That's another video. So the math, the physics, it's in that first section, although it could be in any section really, because the second and third section where you're doing clinical rotations, you'll typically have 1 day a week of class, where in the beginning, it'll all be class, Monday through Friday. And then eventually it'll probably be Monday through Thursday with clinicals on Friday for the rest of that 8 months. And then the last 2 8-month sections are, we did Monday class, Tuesday through Friday clinicals, and then it would switch to Friday class, Monday through Thursday clinicals. So you're always in a class, but you're not always in a clinical, if that makes sense. So, and you can contact the school and say, math's not my favorite, but I want to apply. What classes have math in them for your radiography program? And they'll be able to tell you. You can probably even look it up online and see what the schedule is, but maybe not. Depends on your location. And ask them how many, you know, if they say, well, it's on our physics and we have a basic math 101. Well, how long are those classes? And then you kind of get an idea. Am I going to have to do math the entire time? Or is it just in the first 8 months? Or how does it work? So that's my answer to the math question. You have to know it for school, which means you have to know it for the board exam. And then you can brain dump it like half of the other stuff. What's really important in the real world is how you treat the patient and how your image looks when you're done obtaining it, how well you took that x-ray. That's what's important in the real world, not the angle of your tube or any of that stuff. So then you say, well, and you kind of say your parents are kind of pushing into that, brother, you got to do what you want to do. Don't go into something because your parents want you to do it. You got to want to do it, but you probably already know that. Let's see. I have to write a 250-word essay and submit it about why I want to pursue a career as a radiology technologist. That's one of the things I have to do. So that's super common. Everybody has to do that for the most part that I know of. Because these schools are going to get, you know, at least 50 applicants for a 10 class slot. So they've got to have multiple ways to weed out who they don't want and who they do want, you know. So you'll have an interview, you'll have an essay, you'll have an entrance exam, probably like the Wonderlic test, which is the same thing the NFL football players take. It's just a basic, you can Google it. They even have sample Wonderlic tests on the internet. I have that on my site. I have, that's a good idea. I should put some samples on there. I have an article that links to them, but I'll try to put some up on there under this resources. That's a good idea. When it comes to the essays, you can Google that. Why I want in the program essay template or something like that, or why I want in the program .doc, and Google will show you hundreds of them. Make it fit you, talk about you, tell them why you want to be there. That's not a problem. And then you say, what books would you recommend to study to get a head start before I enter the program? I would try to shadow somebody, really. Go see what it looks like, what it feels like, what that workflow looks like. You don't know what that is until you see it, unless you go have lunch. Maybe that's an option. If you know a tech, offer to take them to lunch. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind, actually. If somebody came to me and said, hey, let me take you to lunch, and I'll buy the lunch, if you could just tell me about your career, about what you do, what you like and what you don't like, what you did that was successful in school and what didn't work in school. Most of them will probably be happy to tell you, because we want people in our profession that want to be there. And that's kind of going above and beyond, asking and doing research. But try to shadow if you can. Sometimes that's limited due to COVID and stupid hospital policies besides COVID. because you're an outside employee, you're not an employee, and you can't see patient information. That's protected information. So there's been this issue about we can't take you right into the exam room to see an exam happening because the patient information is probably on the screen. But they can walk you up and down the halls and say, that's X-ray. And what X-ray does is blah, blah, blah. They get their patient from the dressing room and they put them in there and they X-ray them and they put them back or whatever. They should be able to walk you up and down the corridors and just explain. Then you can get an idea. So shadowing or take somebody to lunch. Or search out the Facebook groups. There's at least 10 Facebook groups for X-ray techs. Sometimes I wish there was only a couple, but they have different topics that they discuss and nationalities. Some of them are other countries that don't even write in English, so you don't even know what they're talking about. You can try Google Translate, but that does not work most of the time. I've tried it. But check out the Facebook groups. I have one on there. It's called the Radiologic Technologist group. You're welcome to come join. I let in people interested in the field, techs, and students. I've started kind of cracking down on other people in healthcare that are just in there for I don't know what. But it's for the techs and the students and people interested in finding out more. So there's really not a book that you can. Actually, Jeremy Enfinger, E-N-F-I-N-G-E-R, he wrote a book about how to become an X-ray tech, and it's on Amazon, and I think it's even free on ebook or Kindle. Maybe I'll link to that in the description. Let me make a little note. If I pull up, in fact, I'll just show it to you, and then I don't have to link to it. So let's go, Jeremy Enfinger and X-ray tech. I don't know. There it is. Let's do a screen share. Where's the controls? Down, up. Share this one. So right here, Becoming a Radiologic Technologist. And that is by Jeremy Enfinger. He's a tech, great guy. He's got his own YouTube channel now, and he may be blogging as well. And I always encourage that. If you're watching this and you're a tech or you're a professor in a rad tech program, please think about sharing your experiences in social media. Because for a long, long time, I mean, really up till COVID, we were not allowed to do this kind of stuff. Hospitals, if they found out you were saying anything on a blog or on a forum or on YouTube or anything, you would get written up because they would either say you represent the hospital because you work there. So when you say something, you're saying it on behalf of the hospital, which is crap. And what I really, probably one of the only benefits of COVID that I can see is healthcare workers are now making videos everywhere, and they're doing it at work in the hospital. And you used to get fired for that kind of stuff. No cameras allowed, no pictures allowed. You're never allowed to take a picture, let alone a video in a hospital. And people are doing it left and right now. So that's great because we need to let people know what the job is like and what we do. And, you know, we got to be careful not to put patient information in there or anything that gives away any patient information. But we couldn't even, you know, stand at the X-ray board with a fellow colleague and say, here's how you do a chest X-ray, and put them against the board and do one and show them because it was in the hospital. So if you're a tech or a professor, please share your knowledge now. Be careful with the rules, but there's so much benefit to us sharing what we know with people who want to know more. So anyway, there's Jeremy's book, Becoming a Rad Tech, a Student's Guide, Jumpstarting. You can check that out right there on Kindle. It's $0. And that's my plug for my buddy Jeremy. I don't get anything out of that except to help him out. Great guy. We're both in the ARRT together. And I'll stop screen sharing on that one. So if you want a book to look at first, go check that out. And it's free. So then you say, also, if I do become a rad tech, what material or what is it that you use with you every day on the job to look back on? So I just did a big cleanup here at the house, and I don't have my books right here accessible, or I'd pop up and grab one. But there are giant books that you'll get, giant books that you'll get in Xray School that go over everything. That goes over all the positions, all the anatomy, all the criteria that should be seen in every image you take. And those are at every job place because every student gets a set. You got 15 X-ray techs working in the department. So that's 15 sets of these books. Nobody really wants them at home. So everybody brings them to work and tries to hide them into the slots in the bookshelf to get rid of them. So you've got decades of reference material. So it's very common for a rad tech to get an order for something not obsolete, but unique, something that's not seen very often, sporadic, and go grab one of these books and open it up and go, I haven't done a sacroiliac joint in a while. What's the angle? I don't remember. What's the inlet outlet on a pelvis? And you go look it up. You refresh yourself. And if you want, another thing I like to do is go to the PACS system. That's the picture archival system that we look at all our images on, and pull up a previous study. You just do a search for a sacroiliac joint study, pull it up, and thumb through it. And there's all your images. Okay, well, they did it, I could see that it included some of the proximal femur and, whatever, the iliac crest, whatever you're looking at, look at the prior studies of what people have done. And that's all it takes to refresh your memory when you're there doing it. You're not going to be expected to remember how to do every single thing on every single study, because especially depends on where you work. If you work in an ortho clinic that only does joints and you pull a shift in the hospital to help out or something, maybe you're PRN on the side, and you get a clavicle x-ray or a mandible or whatever, nobody's going to expect you to remember how to do every single thing. And nobody thinks twice if you go, hey, Tom, I got mandible. Dude, what's my, what were the images on that? And they could tell you. Or you can look it up in the book, or you can look at the prior studies. That's 3 ways you can look up something if you're not quite sure. And students can do the same thing. Don't think at any point in this process, from student to veteran tech, that you need to know how to do every single thing. Because if you can remember it all, good for you. But for example, you get asked to help out an IR or something. It depends on the size of your hospital, but you're just not going to know everything. So don't think that you should. But those are the reference books. And then just the other day we were talking, and I'll have to dig this one out too, but just the other day somebody was talking about a pocket guide, and they do make pocket guides in our world that show all this stuff. But those pocket guides are, yay big, and they're flip with the spiral ring through them. But when I was a student, what was common, and I think it still is, because I brought it up in a post and other people said, yeah, me too. They made these little bitty pocket phone books that were alphabetized. They had little tabs on the side, A, B, C, D through Z. And when I would do a chest x-ray, I would open to the C tab and I would write chest x-ray. I'm at Chandler Regional Hospital, detected 90 at 5, 72 inches, whatever. And I'd write down all the parameters of that exam under the letter. And I would do that all day long for months. And then there would come a point when I go, okay, I got to do a lumbar spine. You go to the L, open it up. Okay, it said right here, I got a big patient. Here's one for big patient. It's up the KV to this number and the MA to this number. And make sure you use the grid. And all your notes are in there. And that thing's like this big. It's I don't know what to reference it to. It's smaller than a cell phone. And cell phones fit in your pocket. So that's what comes to mind when you ask what books you can study to in the everyday part of the job. And then you say, once you got out of school, you never looked at that material again. You just learned on the job. What? Once you got out of school, you never looked at material again. You just learned on the job. Oh, okay. So some, like the physics, you're not going to be shooting a chest x-ray and have to figure out the physics. In fact, and I saw this coming years ago when I was at a McDonald's, and I kind of leaned over the register and I saw that there were little pictures of the drinks, and it had a small picture, a medium picture, and a large picture. So the person no longer had to read small Coke, medium Coke, and large Coke. They just looked for the picture, right? They're dumbing it down so that it's easier for anybody to do. And same thing has happened to x-ray. Now you got a picture of a foot. and you got a picture of a patient, and you can pick the big patient, medium patient, or small patient, and a foot, and it'll do all the math for you, all the calculations. You still have to know some of it. You have to know the positioning. You have to know the distance, the SID, OID, all that fun stuff. So to answer that question, you still are going to need to know what you learn in school, just not everything. You know, you're going to need to remember the positioning. But again, once you're in it long enough, it burns into your memory. Like once you learn how to do a chest X-ray, you'll know how to do a chest X-ray forever. It won't change. That's the other thing about radiology that's cool, is the bones don't change. If you learned anatomy really well in high school, you don't need to worry about it in rad tech school, because the bones don't change. Anatomy and physiology you could do in high school. You know, I don't know. Patient care doesn't change a whole lot. You still, you know, lift with your legs, not your back, push, not pull, that kind of stuff. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any more, brother, just leave them in the comments. I'm happy to sit here and ramble on and tell you what I know, because I tell you what spurred me to this. One of the things that spurred me to this was I was at a conference 4 or 5 years ago at the ARRT. That's the Radiology Management Conference. Fabulous organization. And we had a social in the hotel, and there was these two groups of people in the social. There was the younger crowd and the gray hairs, which I'm getting there. But there wasn't a lot of mingling. And I think that's just true in society in general, but was certainly true in that room. And what I felt about that was, these guys that have been doing this crap for 30 years aren't necessarily sharing it with these guys. And if they don't share it, these guys are going to have to learn all that stuff from scratch. And a lot of that's by making mistakes. And so why not? So here I am. I'm putting it out there. I'm sharing what I know, hoping that it teaches the next generation, or anybody really, and helps to grow the profession and make better techs. And if more people did this, and you're starting to see it, I should really give a shout out to, man, there's this guy, I think it's Xray Ray. This guy is on fire. I should do a collab with him. Yeah, Xray Ray. I'll pop you over there. I've got a soda pop can right in front of my share button. Boom. Go check out Xray Ray. This guy, he doesn't have a lot of stuff out yet. He's only about 6 months in, and he's talking about school. You know, my first day, my first week, my first year, secrets of a first year. And he's entertaining, and he's alive, and he's enjoyable to watch. You know, I read a study on Aunt Minnie. If you want to really get into our world, check out Aunt Minnie on a regular basis. And this study, can you trust YouTube videos on mammography? Well, really all they did was they said they typed in the word mammography on YouTube and took the first 100 videos that showed up, and then analyzed who made those. And of course, only like 31 of them was a physician. And another subsection of that was just people talking about their lives. I had a mammogram and here's what happened. And all of that is valuable. But what they're focused on in the article was, is it medically accurate? Well, that's two different things. What I'm saying is, I wish everybody in the world of radiology would share what they know as their opinion and their expertise. I'm not saying we're giving medical advice. The doctors can do that. We don't do that. That's what the doctors do. But I can certainly come on here and tell you how to get into Xray School, what I did to get into Xray School, what I did to study, what I found was difficult and easy in the hospital and in a clinic and on the night shift and on the day shift. And so this article kind of cracked me up a little bit, because they're kind of griping that the YouTube algorithm makes a big difference in the terms of what people watch. Well, you know, do you think maybe YouTube has a vested interest in pointing people towards videos that'll last longer? So you got Dr. A, who's boring and dry, giving a seminar, and you got some influencer talking about her mammogram. Who's going to generate more views? Who's going to cause people to stay on that video longer? Who's maybe going to click through to see more material from that person? Maybe the influencer. So you can't really blame YouTube there, although they did the exact same thing to websites. Google came out with the Medic update, which said you had to be somewhat of an authority. You have to prove you're an authority in your niche to be talking about it. And so anyway, that's a whole other topic. So there's my answers to you, brother. I'm glad you found me through Reddit. I'm not on there enough, but I do stop by. I'm glad you found me. There's, for those of you that don't know, /radiology is the subreddit, and it's got daily Q&A on it. It's a great resource, as well as if I pop over here, it's linked through my YouTube channel as well. But if I pop over here to Facebook and I pop into groups, you'll see mine right here. The Radiologic Technologist group. This is my group, small number of people, but it's growing very fast. People are asking questions. I'm posting, memes. I'm trying to keep it entertaining. Here's somebody talking about studying for the MRI board exams, looking for advice, all kinds of stuff, job offers, more goofy memes. I like to write about veterinary radiology. I think that's really cool. The difference between being a rad tech 1, 2, and 3 at the hospital. What's the difference? So I give you plenty of stuff to chew on. I don't even know how long I've gone here. Somewhere I should say the time. No, I don't know. It was like 20 minutes or so. So I'll cut it there. I hope that helps you. Like and subscribe. That's how you can help me. I really appreciate that. And if you need anything else, let me know. Take care.